also thorough with what we're sharing with you today because it is very important stuff. But at the same time, we would love to be able to give you guys some time to work on your back to school night presentations. So again, if we can, maybe try to be a little bit more swift so that we're always starting at 2:20. That would be awesome. Just again, because if we could get out, you know, if there's ever any time to spare, it would be. So today we are really kind of taking a look at our vision cycle. We are going to be looking back at our 25-26 data as a whole. I know, can I get a woo woo? And we are going to be launching forward into kind of like the plan of attack. Today is just kind of like a deeper dive into what we had talked about last year. The impact team will be looking a little bit deeper, and then just kind of like a soft introduction into the VC.
So today, as you can see, we're just going to take a look at sharing out what our impact leadership team had a chance to discuss in early August when we met. We looked at our spring data, some historical data, and we used that to generate our long-term metrics, right? But we want to share that with everyone and really come together on what's our culture goal and our academic goals, right? And how might we all be a part of that, right? We really want to think about not working in our silos, right? And we're really coming together. We also want to give you some time to think about how does that connect to yourself, like that culture goal, how does that connect to your team, right, from your department, and then give you some time to work on your back to school night presentation. So this year we're building and continuing, right? We're not starting something new, we're really just expanding and continuing what we've started in the past, right? And really just harnessing the collective good that we have in this room. As I look out and we have all of these wonderful different expertise, we have a lot to offer our students, right? And so if we can offer some opportunities, that's what I've been so happy to be a part of so far, is how might we connect some of those departments more, to have some more of those intentional conversations, right? So really just building that connection through that growth mindset and just unleashing our collective power.
And I kind of like keep thinking as well this year about like how, you know, we're all about, you know, born to shine. And it's really kind of like how Kate said, it's not redoing something. It's just truly like unleashing our excellence and what already is working for us and how can we capitalize on that to make it shine even brighter. The culture that we experience is created through the thousands of everyday interactions that we have. This is so important to us, and I hope that you feel that this is kind of what we have been putting into the atmosphere here at North Barrington this year. It's just that the conversations that we have, the relationships that we're building, the appreciation that we express to others, and the choices that we make are truly a part of just learning and growing and building a culture. There's going to be lots of conversations this year that go really awesome, and some that we have to be more reflective on. There's already situations that I've been in where I'm like, okay, I need to stop and think about this. And I had a good friend remind me today of the importance of pausing to kind of just stop, take something in, and breathe for a moment. So I appreciate that, friend. And it's okay. Like I said, when I went to each of your classrooms, we're all going to make mistakes. But what happens when you make that mistake is you stop, you learn, you grow, and then you hope not to make that mistake again, right? So I think that that's just the culture that we're aiming for this year. I know it sounds so cheesy, and I always kind of like make a giggle of it this year, like, oh, what's that person's title going to be this year? We're just really changing it. It's the same thing, right? But this one was actually one that I kind of dug. So we've always had the building leadership team, which just makes me think of BLTs, which I don't even like the L or the T, but it just makes me think of eating.
I add pickles to mine to make it better.
That actually sounds good. A little
It's good.
Anyway. But this year we're kind of like reframing how we have that BLT and looking at it as more of an impact team. Because when I hear building leadership team, well, every one of us is a leader, right? So would we all be on that team? Are we all the building leadership team? But this impact team is kind of that leadership team that's made up of our educators, that we have representatives from each of our grade levels, from LAMPS, from SST, and these people are being utilized to really unleash their expertise to understand the impact of the work. Not their specific work, but the collective whole's work. This person does not have to be the team leader. This person does not have to be the only connection of what is going on. This person is just kind of that liaison that is bringing the work that we're doing for the VC. Here, I took that one.
It's so grateful.
But then you're at the end of the year, you're gonna be like, can you please never say
Well, we're
VC
gonna need a
again?"
new title for next year, but.
But that person is just kind of to be the voice of what is happening in your grade level and what is happening that we're working on within the vision cycle. And then it really is the point of taking that information and utilizing the time that we're gonna have. The impact team is gonna meet 3 times, half a day during the school year this year. They're really gonna help to collaboratively promote our SIP days so that they are meaningful for all. They're really gonna help guide us with some of the look-fors that we wanna see during our walks this year, which we'll talk a little bit about that because we all love walking. But they are really cultivating that growth mindset and hopefully pouring it into you as well of all the things that we can do. And yes, they are championing the work of that vision cycle, but again, champions always have teammates, and that's where we need all of you. I believe at the end of last year, who was on that impact team was kind of decided if you would like to stay, awesome, and if you would like to have that change, you know, then let's go ahead and do that too. If there is someone who's like, I would love that opportunity to be on that, you know, we can take a look at how we are like gearing that and switch things up. It does not need to be one person, although it is quite helpful to have one person that's familiar and deeply embedded in like our long-term and short-term metrics so that we can pour that up too.
So thinking about how we're going to leverage our growth this year and thinking, yes, it does in part with literacy and math, but we really have a strong drive from the district on culture, and I love that, right? Because they're focusing on us, focuses on the students, and how might we bring all of that up together. So we're first gonna take a look in a little bit here, as I mentioned, at our 25-26 spring data, and then there's some really nice historical data that the district even chose North Barrington to share out at its leadership meeting, which was great. And again, just really leveraging our collective expertise. We want everyone to feel your voice matters when we determine these metrics. Yes, that goal's been set. We're sharing that today with you, but how we get there, right? And everyone has different ideas. And you might be in a different department and you see something like just bringing that voice. How might we work together to build that together? I think the next slide has our data. Oh, yes, Tracy.
So this kind of shows the growth that we have made over the years, and it's truly incredible to show like how hard we've all worked. Every single grade level, every teacher in this building has worked so hard to get us where we are here. So it's pretty amazing.
When you're looking at a 10% increase, I mean, math was always like our massive focus, but I mean, that's really, really huge. And I think a lot of that can come from the changes that occurred here.
Sorry, do we know when 25-26 data comes out?
That's what we're sharing today.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yep,
Sorry.
that 25, you know what, they actually did that, 25,
Yeah, that should be
26 was
25-26.
91%. Thanks
Yeah,
for catching
Okay.
me.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay, so, and also our vision statements, they've changed and have become, you know, more specific over the years, which I think has really helped us to hone in on what we really needed to cover and get to for each of our students, and to make sure that we were meeting them where they are, but also pushing them to where they need to get to.
But also like meeting us where we are, like that first time we were like cultivating a growth mindset. Then we were like digging deep into the data and becoming more data literate. Then we were able to take the data and actually move mountains, truly, because of that.
So we're going to take a look at that data here, but before we do, just take a minute to digest this quote, right? Summative data is a spotlight, not a diagnosis. It helps us to identify strengths, challenges, and areas for further investigation, but meaningful improvement requires that deeper analysis of multiple sources of evidence, right? So we're just shining a light. We know it's a day and time. We know that even as we sit here, it wasn't our classroom where they took this data also, not everyone's classroom that is. However, we know we're pouring everything we can into those students to really build them up, no matter what it will be. So let's take a look and see where we landed in the spring.
So again, this is our 25-26 data.
Yes, and when we take a look at some of these measures, you'll be able to see how, obviously we have for K1 the FastBridge data, second grade through fifth grade takes MAP, as well as third through fifth taking that IAR, and we're really analyzing that growth and proficiency. Looking here, this part Sarah helped me to really digest, and it's really speaks volumes about what we're doing here at Barrington, because typically in a district you might be looking at those national norms of 25%, right? But we're taking a look at the 59th percentile, and we have that benchmark in MAP, for example. I jumped down from FastBridge, I apologize, K1. I got really excited about MAP, or IAR. But when we're looking at second grade, if we're looking at that 191, that's really at the 59th percentile. And sometimes I even forget, I'm thinking that's at that lower percentile. So we're able to really exceed the expectations and really lift a lot of those students up. We don't have that many kiddos even below that 25th percentile.
So to even just expand on that again, like when we're looking at average, it's the 25th to 75th percentile. All of that is within the average range. When we look at a student making benchmark, so they need a 65 to have benchmark, well, that's really at the 40th percentile. So that's how much higher our kids are. That's actually quite interesting to look at it. Our students in Barrington just are much higher achievers. That also makes you think that when we start to intervene with kids when they're like below that 25th percentile, it should be a lot lower kids, because if the average is kind of like hitting around here, but it doesn't mean that just because this is where I always kind of get lost, well, they didn't get benchmark, they're not hitting benchmark. Yes, but that doesn't mean that they need an intervention right away, or that they are special ed or whatnot. Our benchmarks are higher because we are a higher achieving district. Does that make sense? Because that really is a toughie.
Like really considering the local norms compared to the national. So these numbers down here were ones that supported me in understanding, right? So when we look at, this is it's everyone, I should say, because it's FastBridge and MAP. But these numbers here with our high growth, we want to have people, at least students that is, performing at 16th percentile, as well as the 68th percentile. So the fact that we ended up having, just near and close that, and more than the expected growth column, that really speaks volumes that we're right on target. The low growth was right where we want to be. Of course, yes, it'd be great if it was lower, but we are not higher than that. That makes sense.
So this isn't necessarily referring to the 16th percentile. That's saying of our entire, let's just say 5th grade, we want 16% of them. It would be ideal if they were in that high growth group. We're hoping that at least 68% of our 5th graders are in that percent of expected growth, and so on. Now you're gonna see some areas are higher, some areas are lower. It really kind of all like equalizes out at some point, but this is great. This is really, really great.
A lot of green. So we can watch the cohorts, right, travel through the grades with those color coordinations. The black bar shows when we readjusted, recalibrated, that is, the MAP data and the IAR data to be aligned. So you might see a shift for that reason. But really, I mean, if you think about that, just kind of take a look down. We're seeing them leave stronger. Do you have any questions when you look at this one? It's a lot of charts. This is just another way to view that, but when we love our blue and we love our green and we put that together, and the yellow is where we're looking for some of the intervention support if necessary. And the reds are those students that we normally are seeing to be identified, right? And the fact that we have 10% and lower is truly what those pyramid percentages are looking for anyways. So go ahead.
So even just like thinking about this, what do you think this data tells us? Like when you're looking at it right here, when I have just second graders, again, at the end of the year, and this is just for math, that we have this many in the blue, then it goes, like what do you think that's kind of telling us? Like what are some insights you might have about it?
That we're pushing our high needs kids, not high needs kids, we're pushing our high kids. We're not solely focused on our lowies. Where we're taking, besides the kids I take out, you guys are doing a great job differentiating in your classrooms.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Any other takeaways of that?
Well, and it looks like the red is getting smaller too, so that means our interventions are working.
Yes, and you also have to think that for second grade, that is the first time that these friends are ever taking the test that entire year. It's a completely different thing. And how we identify kids in K1, 2 is very different, right? Hopefully by 3, 4, 5, those friends have been identified and they are getting supports already. If they're at first grade, second grade, they're just getting to have Christy, or they're just getting to have Sarah, or what else it might be.
And if you also look at the red, it's okay, most of the kiddos that are in this red are kiddos who are IEP students or students who we already have identified, so it just shows how amazing everybody is, so great job.
Yeah, that's our math. And so now we're gonna take a look at reading. So once again, these are our benchmarks, kind of comparing that it's really the 40th national percentile, but our benchmark we're looking for is at 64 or the 66 on FastBridge. And then as you look down at IAR into that MAP percentile, right, we're always trying to use MAP to predict our IAR. Those numbers probably pop in your head, but if you look to the right, just that it's all in the 50th percentile are our expectations. So again, if we look at reading through the lens of comparing these numbers, there's a lot of good things going on. What maybe pops for you guys to notice? Thought I heard
Our
something.
low growth is lower.
Yeah,
I mean, heavens, when I look at kindergarten, I'm like, dang.
0. Love that.
28% high growth, that's amazing. Obviously, what we're using to assess kids is different in K1 than it is in 2, 3, 4, so that's, definitely a piece too. And it's like, I look at this and I'm like, oh, okay, well, third grade had 30% high growth. Oh, they only had 67% expected growth. Well, they have 4. Okay, well, yeah, like they had a very large group of students last year that made expected growth, if not higher. Might that have had anything to do with like the rigorous discourse that you were implementing? I don't know, but it's definitely worth like digging into more, right?
I look at it easier than that. When I look at third grade, I view that as 97% of kids making the growth they need to do, right? So I look at expected and I add that to my high growth to say like, 97% of kids are killing it.
That's a great idea.
That's a good way to put it.
So it's better way,
Props.
And then fourth graders 90%.
You also sometimes have to remember that once we get into that 3, 4, 5, specifically even more so 4, 5, if they are already making extremely high growth, it's very hard to make even higher growth than what you've already done. So that is a very big piece to keep in your mind.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'll find that sometimes too. I'll get a kid who'll be like, well, still good growth, but not great. I'm like, what the heck? Well, I'm like, the kid's got a 264. What do you expect? You know what I mean? So like, they're humans at some point too.
I never
They
saw
level
those
out.
kind of numbers.
We still have some in the building left, but like you keep that in the back of your mind, because sometimes that growth, like I can beat myself up about it, and then I'll look at that score and I'm like, well, what did I expect? Right? They killed it. Like
They're at least maintaining, and they are still growing. We're not seeing it in that piece,
totally
right? With that percentage.
I think one of the things that makes me so proud too is that I'm not certain how you feel, but I really feel like so much of our energy has been put forth to math. And to see that our reading is still staying so strong, that means that practices that we have in place really are making a difference.
Well,
and across the board, North Barrington scores in comparison to other schools too.
It speaks volumes to the fact that we're one of the buildings that has the highest number of professionals that have attended letters, for example. It's things like that that just really make your instruction more robust, and you just differentiate in the moment because it's in here, right? It isn't out of that the scripted curriculum always, right? So again, we have this similar pillar bar graph for reading now. Do you notice any similarities between this and math? And I know I am better door than a window. Should I just do that?
See right through you.
Is that a good thing?
And again, we are gonna take this data, and when we come to your PLC meetings, we are gonna dissect it even more, because I know that this is truly just an overview for everybody, because y'all gotta know, right? But it is okay, what's making the blue here? What are we doing for all of those friends to keep pushing the envelope forward? What are we doing for those greens that could become blues that are so close? The impact team on September 10th, reminder if you haven't gotten your sub already, please make sure you do so. But we are gonna dig deeper into the new ECRIS platform, which will really help us have a nice visual of like who those kids are and how we can, go forward with supporting them.
So really looking at just that grade level. So here we have 3rd, 4th, and 5th, all in green, right? Like taking a
IAR
look
data.
at, again, like that low growth, we're below that, which is a great benchmark. I mean,
And again, this is that IAR data. So usually when you start the school year, I would have had all of your students' IAR data in your hub, but the platform changed this year, and so literally the day before school, I had a meeting with Zach to go through the new platform. But this is something that we'll again be going through, and all of that information will be in there. It's not only good for the current teacher to have, but it's good for like 3rd grade to be looking at the current 4th graders to see what was going and where we were scoring higher and lower. And IAR math, like, what?
Crazy.
That is so crazy.
They're like carbon copies.
Yeah. So that's just really, really awesome. But these are questions that we need to dig deeper into of like, what are we doing that really is pushing that needle? Because it's happening everywhere, and how can we utilize each other's strengths to enhance ourselves, right?
there's a lot of deliberate meetings. We know you have it, your team meetings, right, with that intention, and that
Which is
drive.
ELA.
And so that's what we'd also love to be between Tracy, myself, and Sarah, like when we're able to sort of share that conversation of what's happening at the different departments, we get ideas, right? Like we just otherwise can't get to each other in a lunchroom, right? Or because of the times of our students' lunches, and we shouldn't let that be a barrier, right, to collaboration. So, and then IAR, ELA, like
I mean, does it get better?
Well, sorry, so like this, to me, this one's interesting because I'd love to know what we look like against the other elementary schools, because I do feel like that HMH and all that writing that they're doing and typing that writing in, I personally have to think that had to have something to do with our written portion at least.
That's true.
Like, did we blow everyone out, was everyone's a little similar to that, or
No, we were definitely higher than others.
significantly? I wonder if like we're teaching with more fidelity, or, you know what I mean? I agree, like I wanna know what it is that we are doing that's being so impactful.
Well, and I think that's something we can continue to dig deeper into, and I think that's a good question you bring up.
I just think it's because we're amazing.
Well, that's great, you know, but like, what should I not cut out?
So as we look at that data that was yielded in the spring, that's what positions us to determine our long-term metrics for this year.
And I'm not gonna lie, this one was a little tough for me. When we're looking at, we were like 91% and, high 80-something percent, like what? Why are you telling me, Sarah, then that we should be looking at math and ELA and we're only going 74% and 75%? Well, when we look at our cohort 2nd through 5th, we need to make meaningful goals that are actually achievable. And we do see that our 2nd graders just turned 3rd have some space for improvement, right? I think that we are already killing it in so many different areas. I think these kids really came back with a lot of growth over the summer months. And I think that many of them are ready for learning. The 3rd grade teachers are like,
You okay with that?
so I think there's many variables that are gonna be coming in, but also we need to be practical. Something that also is gonna be different when we look at how schools are rated now, those categories of like excellence and commendable have actually shifted. So we'll be able to actually look at our data and kind of have an idea of what we will rate next year by already looking at what we have now and predicting where we are. And science is actually gonna be integrated into the math and ELA as well, just that 5th grade science.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Yeah, she's like, oh.
It's gonna be a combined score, but like, let's just say we need 76% to stay excellent. There's things that we can look at in regards to like, community, attendance, and things like that, that are things that can help our score to boost up. That's way too much information for now. But we just wanted you to have like a little understanding as to like, yes, if we're doing so great, why would we move our scores down? That's because we differentiate and we meet them where they are and pull them up, right?
So for the VC, we're going to be looking at cultural and academic goals. And so we want you to think about what or how does your unique role connect to the goal that we're setting.
So our culture goal this year is cultivating an inclusive, collaborative school community that ensures a sense of belonging, empowering all students to achieve personal and academic success. I almost like want to change it to say empowering all to achieve personal and academic success. So these are some of the things that are just goals that we're working on to achieve that broader piece. And this culture goal was established by what we did with our Framework 220 work back in
April 2nd.
Mhm. So kind of the main goals that we have is increasing our student, staff, and community sense of belonging. We are on it, man. We are on it. We are working at it as best we can already. It is like trickling through the building like craziness. Another thing that we're going to try to work on is increasing the overall school-wide average daily attendance rate. Last year, we sat at about 94.9%. We'd love to shoot up to 97%. I know that seems small, but it's a greater whole, bigger than us sometimes. But in your back-to-school presentations, I really, really urge you to make sure you include something about the importance of attendance. We also want to make sure that we're reducing the percentage of chronically absent students. That means kiddos missing more than 10% of their school day. Right now, we're sitting at 9.4% of students were chronically absent last year. Now, some of that is related to health needs, but a lot of that truly was like, didn't feel like coming to school today, went on a trip to Florida, things like that. So this is where I'm gonna say that caveat. We all need to be on the same page. If a child comes to you and says, I'm going on vacation next week, can you give me my homework? What might your answer be?
No.
N to the O to the no, 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 no. You should journal about your trip. And Carrie's dying because she's like, they're gonna be so behind. But Carrie, if you do it,
I
you're
know.
killing us all.
And I get it, and then we're feeding into the problem for next year, I get it.
Yes, please.
Don't do it, Carrie.
But
Looking at you, Carrie.
very honestly,
Everybody's eyes.
it's a diss to your coworkers, because if one person, oh, like Mrs. Kennecott's gonna give me my work, why won't you give me my work? If we make it a stance of like, no, they have time when they get back to recoup that work and get it done. They have the time. It is a family decision to take that break. Life happens, you know, hey, take the trip, that's cool. Just know that you'll get your work done when you get home. But if you could please help each other with that, that would be great.
Same for conferences.
Oh, 100% same thing for conferences. Yes, if they are not coming, and that, well, let's just get there when we get there. Another thing that we really want to do to enhance this culture goal is strengthen our teacher capacity of the SEL screeners, the proctoring, and then utilizing that information for data-driven SEL interventions. I know that some of us, Amy and Barb and myself, when we were kind of like looking at those character strong things that came in, it was kind of like, wow, this is really elevated and this is really not, but I thought these, well, like maybe we need a little bit more like extra time and maybe collaboratively filling out some of that information. LAMP's team needs to be involved with some of those because maybe what they're seeing in their environment is very different. So that is just a piece of some of the things that we're doing. And then again, just really increasing our collaboration and shared efficacy through refining our PLCs and BLT structures. Like I said, we're on it.
Okay, so our academic goals, we're really focused on literacy, math problem solving, and then interdisciplinary learning. And so at your tables, just very quickly, talk about how you can support those first two metrics and what are areas in which you may need support.
So think about this as a whole. This was one of those, like, we're not just working about math, we're not just working about reading. How can I, as the PE teacher, how can I, as the social worker, how can I, as whatever is your role is, support the good of the whole?
I really like that we brought back rigorous questioning too. So if that was something that your team found valuable and you had some things that were starting to work, we can continue on that as well. Just a thought to get you started.
And then if you do feel like, oh, there's something that you need support with, I left cards and pencils at your table. You can just write it down and write your name down, and I'll collect them just as a help. All good.
Like, there were questions that I asked them about the senior citizen that we're not supporting, right? And so, yeah, and I brought up Dolly and I just yeah, so I mean, you'll find yourself in areas where you're doing it, that
The connection, the authentic connection is such a good, like, for being in our curriculum. It's not like that's authentic. Why? You know, it's just being in like that's all. It doesn't mean it doesn't relate to anyone like someone who's I immediately went to like big things.
All right, we are going to go ahead and bring it back. Again, just like Tracy said, if there's something right off your head that you're like, man, I could use some help with this, please do let us know. One last piece that I am going to say is our first vision cycle walk is going to be on October, I think it's 2nd or 3rd?
Maybe the 3rd then.
Okay.
It's going to say the 10th, but that's the number of the month.
The impact team is going to chit chat about how we are going to shift some things there. So just know that there is really going to be quite a shift. And
In a way that helps you feel like everyone feel connected. We're not doing a panic of, we have to make sure the second they walk in, we are almost doing this scripted thing. We want it to feel natural. We want you to feel more at ease, that it's just business as usual.
And it shouldn't be a dog and pony show.
Exactly, so.
So, like we had changed our schedule last year, we're not doing that. You are going to be given a sign-up sheet for like a 10 to 15 minute slot that you would like them to come in to see your class, whether that be reading, whether that be math, whether that be your writing, whatever you want to showcase. So like hurry up and get on the sign-up right away. We'll have kind of 2 cohorts walking through. We're going to create look-fors, really just based on rigorous discourse. Like, what kind of questions are you asking? What are the student responses? We would love lamps to be part of this as well. Might we come into your classrooms and observe as well? So this is more of just a big open blanket, more so of what we're looking for, rather than I'm looking for math. How did you do? I didn't feel like it was authentic information that we were getting back. That certainly couldn't drive us, and I think we realized it more so once the year was over, and we're hoping that this might drive us more. So just so you're just kind of like, oh my God, every school is doing it different. This is just kind of like how we are brainstorming. So you have the next 25 minutes to go ahead and start working on